So we're seeing people joining from a lot of places all over the world. That is really great. And I'm so excited to have you all at this very moment. Okay, so we are at 100 almost. Let's start. Okay, we are at 100. Great. So thank you everyone for joining today. My name is Hemant Gangolia. I am the co-founder and CEO of INRI. Along with me is Nishad Shah, my co-founder and president. We are extremely delighted to host you all today. I personally want to thank you all for taking the time and attend the webinar, especially on a Sunday. Before we get started, I want to quickly introduce INRI and ourselves. About me, I moved to New York in 2017 and have been a NRI myself for the past 6 years now. Through my personal experience, I have seen how challenging it is to bank, invest, and manage my personal finances on an ongoing basis. And the current options exist with Indian banks, other financial institutions offer a suboptimal experience. So I've always wished that there was a better way to do this, just like I could do it for my US finances. Now, with that said, I am excited to be building INRI, which is an investment platform for NRIs, people like us to invest in India. With our exclusive focus towards the segment, we are a first mover in this space. Now, coming to today, in this webinar, we have a very exciting topic. At some point of time, we all have thought whether we want to move to India or how to plan for it. And it's not an easy decision. Everyone does it at a different time and may not do it also. With that said, I want to take a moment to introduce and thank our special guest, Anil Sanadhya. Anil did his engineering from IIT BHU and then went to the US in 1999. Anil worked with the Verizon for 8 years and then with DTCC for 9 years before returning to India at the age of 41. Now, this is pretty exciting, and how he did it, we'll learn very soon. So now I'll just hand over to Anil to share his interesting journey.
Thank you, Hemant. Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Can you guys hear me? Am I audible?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So, guys, today we are going to talk about 4 things. My life in US, then we'll talk about my reasons to return to India, and then we'll spend some time talking about my life in India, and then the most important bit in the end, that is why we all should be investing in Indian markets right now. All right. With that said, so here is a quiz question for you guys. How many of you know this place? Any guesses, guys?
All right.
I don't.
Anyone else? Any other guesses?
Miami.
Miami, you are getting close. Absolutely. Anyone else?
Cancun.
Okay. Well, you are pretty close. Actually. How about this? Let me give you a better hint. Can we go to the next slide, please? And let's see if you can guess that now. What about this place?
Orlando.
Orlando, yeah, absolutely. So the thing is, this is Magic Kingdom from Orlando, and the first picture was Clearwater Beach, Tampa, Florida. I lived very close to these places. I lived 30 miles away from Clearwater Beach and 60 miles away from Disney World. So you can imagine my weekends for the 16 and a half year I lived in Tampa. Pretty much every other weekend I was in one of these 2 places. And that is the reason whenever my friends over here in Bangalore ask me to kind of plan a trip to Goa or some other beach vacation, they always just get a very lukewarm response from me, all right. So I don't want to bore you with other things, in my life. I want to share the very important story about me, like how I got interested into my investing world. Okay. Besides that, everything else in US was normal and most of you are already living it. So I want to share how I got hooked on to the investing world. And with that, anyone wants to guess what this picture is, guys? Okay, someone just got it. Black Swan. Yes, it is a black swan, and it got famous by the famous book by Nassim Taleb, Black Swan, which came a few years ago. And Black Swan was For thousands of years, we never knew that black swan existed. Some 300 or 400 years ago, it was found in somewhere in Australia. And since then, the thousands of years of wisdom was completely evaporated with one, sighting of black swan. So I want to share my black swan into the story. Can we just go to the next slide, Hemant, please? Yes. So guys, when I moved to US, after a few consulting assignments, I became an employee of Verizon. And then when you become an employee, what happens? You start, having a 401k account. And I was the one, who started contributing maximizing my 401k contributions. Now, Verizon also was giving its contribution to my 401k account. But the problem was that all the mutual funds which were there in my 401k, plus the Verizon contribution, all that, majority of that was in Verizon stocks, right? So you can see that what happened to the Verizon stocks in like from 2002, 3 and 4, 5, 6. At some point of time, because I was maximizing my 401k, my 401k value was around $70,000. But then what happened afterwards? My portfolio of 70,000 dropped to around $27,000, $28,000. And that was a shocking moment for me. That was my biggest saving at that point in time. And I just had no idea, about mutual funds or about stock investments, what to do and how to do. But I wanted to salvage whatever is left, and I had to figure it out how to do that. So in order to save my portfolio, I started looking around and figuring ways, what I can do from here. And I stumbled upon Fool.com. How many of you have heard Fool.com? Anyone knows? I'm sure many of you know about Fool.com.
Motley Fool.
Motley Fool, yes, exactly. So what Fool.com does is that they have their advisory services where they recommend the stocks every month, and now they have like a portfolio.
Please mute yourself if you're not speaking. Thank you.
So Motley Fool has advisory services where they recommend stocks every month, and now they have moved into portfolio services and all those things also. At some point of time, over the years, I pretty much subscribed to every service what Motley Fool offered, right? But the best bit from Motley Fool was not their recommendations, right? The best bit from them was their discussion boards. And what happens is on those discussion boards, you can go and post your question, and perhaps some of their advisors or any other experts or people who are investing with a lot of experience, they can come and answer those questions. So in one of those boards, there was one person with a handle of Pencils2 was answering a lot of questions. He was explaining us the intricate details about why share price move, what balance sheet is, what cash flow statement is, how balance sheet like policies the cash flow statement, why you should be looking at the revenues and the margins, these type of intricate details. I started following him, and I always, was thinking that this guy must be in his 60s and must not be having any family life, or must be a divorcee or a widower perhaps, and he must be has to be a professor of finance, the way he was explaining all these things. He introduced me to companies like Chipotle in 2005 and 6, around that time, 6 or 7 perhaps, right? He introduced me to companies like Starbucks, Chipotle, Middleby, Hansen Natural, the company which make Monster drink actually. Now its name has changed. At that time, it was called Hansen Natural. And he was explaining why these companies are important. They are producing cash flow, and it is better to move money out of Verizon and invest in those companies. So I did that. I followed his recommendation. I followed his advice. I tried to learn a lot from him. And what happened then if we fast forward to next 6 years, my $27,000 portfolio became $100,000, right? And that was, an aha moment for me. I wanted to go back and send a thank you note to that fellow. Now, when I looked around at that point, this guy Pencils2 was not active on motleyfool.com boards, So I looked and I found his website. His name was David Kretzmann. And on this website, there was a brief bio about him. So, and the bio said that in 2012, he was 18 years old. And what that means, that in 2006, when he was teaching us about finance, and I was in my perhaps late 20s or early 30s, right? At that time, this guy was 12 years old when he was teaching us all about finance. And guys, perhaps, whatever happened to me afterwards with my finance and my journey into stock market, this guy gets all the credit. He does not know it. I don't think I sent an email to him after that. I was in so much of shock and awe. I think I DM'd him on a Twitter. He is not very much active in Twitter. He's heading the Singapore division of Fool.com, last I knew, but he's not very much active. And this guy just changed my destiny forever. And the funny thing, he was just 12 years old at that time. Okay. Can we go to the next slide, please, Hemant? Yes. So now, having talked about the most important things about my life in US, I want to share with you all what were my reasons to return to India. Now, you all may have a different reason. These were like my important reasons, which I valued, and I wanted to make sure that I take care of these reasons. All right. So for me, this is something which I kind of learned over time by Amazon, Jeff Bezos. He always talk about minimizing your regrets in life. And that is something which I wanted to minimize. I wanted to make sure that when I turned 60, I should not be thinking that, oh, I wish I should have done that when I was 40 years old. So that was one thing. It is a very important framework. Even today, I follow that a lot. Wherever it's possible, I try to minimize regrets in all of my decisions. Second reason is emotional. I guess we all are emotionally attached to India in various ways. I was coming to India quite often. We take like so many trips. We have our family, friends, relatives. We knew what India is and how India is. We were emotionally attached. So that is one reason. We wanted to come over here. Third thing was citizenship status. I applied for green card very early, and I got my citizenship very early too, in around 2010-11. So the citizenship issue was always sorted out. We thought that even if we come to India, and if that does not work, going back to US was not a big problem for us. So that gave us optionality and made our decision, made us to take our decision much easier. But having all these criteria met, there is something else which needs to be met. And that is the next slide, Hemant, please. Thank you. Anyone knows what this 4% rule is? Any guesses, guys? You can give a thumbs up or raise your hands or, fire. Yeah, absolutely. I think, you absolutely nailed it. This 4% rule is that when the 4% return from your invested corpus is equal to your annual expenses, then pretty much in all the 6 sigma scenarios, like 99% scenarios, you are all set to retire. That is absolutely correct, guys. That is a safe withdrawal rate. And what it means, in other words, like if your annual expenses are going to be $50,000, then your invested corpus should be around $1.25 million. Right now, you can tweak this rule. I wanted not to work in India, so I tweaked this rule to 2.5%. Right. After living here for the last 7 years, I believe that if someone who is willing to work, if need arises, he can change this rule to 8% actually, and he'll just be fine. With 6% is completely fine actually. So you can adjust this rule based on where you are in your career and what you want to do next. All right. So having all these criteria met, I was all set to come to India. But before that, I want to give you 2 tips. Which first tip is many of you know, and that is you got to, if you plan, and even if you don't plan, you must be maximizing your 401k accounts, your Roth IRA accounts, and if you are eligible, then maybe traditional IRA account. That is just a must do whether you plan to come to India or not. That is the easiest way to generate a decisive wealth, right? And many of you know this thing perhaps, right? But a second tip, which I don't think many of you know, and that is that if your 401k is heavily weighted in your company stocks, then you are at the mercy of the performance of your company stocks. Your portfolio is at that mercy, right? So you can take out some amount from your 401k and move that to your rollover account. And what you can do in rollover IRA account is that you can invest in the companies you like. You have the whole world available to you to invest. So, and that is what I did, that I was able to withdraw money from which was coming in my 401k and move that to my rollover IRA account. And that is where I could invest in Chipotle and Hansen Natural and Starbucks and Middleby and all these companies after. So that is, even if you don't do anything else, even if you have no plans, but that is what you all must be doing. Having said that, we decided to come to India at the age of in 2016, and I gave I resigned from my job, and 2 months later, we were in India. So I guess there are like a lot of questions, but I guess I'll be answering those questions towards the end. I will be here for as long as you want to answer your Q&A, guys. Do not worry about that. All right. So guys, in India, living in India has, of course, different things. But before that, anyone knows, what this picture is, guys? Any guesses? Yeah, I think you already answered it. This is the guy. I believe this is the guy with a good character, Blondie or something. He's the good guy. So let's talk about the good things in India. So guys, this is the fun part in India. You can see the first picture is my apartment community where I live. It's a Christmas lighting, and the whole month the apartment is lit like this in the month of December. The picture on the bottom left, that is the Diwali celebration picture. The whole community, everyone gets dressed up and comes out and celebrate Diwali together. And these are fun parts. Every celebration or every festival is such a fun-full event in an apartment setup. Basically, we enjoy that a lot. Second picture at the top, that is my family. Basically, just be here for a second, Hemant. So second picture from the top, you can see just my family. So whatever we do, basically, whenever we all are getting together, we just celebrate some birthday, some anniversary, something, and kids are more than happy to celebrate all those things. So they are happy to celebrate their birthday more than once, and we just don't mind doing that. Third picture on the right, top right, you can see this is my trainer actually. And I'm not one of those guys, who love exercise. I abhor it. I detest it. I am not fond of it. But I do 1 hour training session just to get passive stretching from my trainer for 15 minutes. And that is just one of the best part, kind of a param nirvana moment actually, when he gives you the passive stretching actually. Not only that, whenever someone comes and visits us, I do not care about taking them out or restaurants or mall or here and there. I just make sure that I arrange a training session for them by my trainer. And that is what they love the most. All right. The last picture that is on the bottom right, that is about my son, and how we used to call him, I guess, introvert. That Amrit, you are introvert and you got to learn how to be more sociable and how to socialize more with others. And he was like, what do you mean I'm introvert? I socialize as much as I want. And he's like, and we told him no, that whenever someone comes to our place, you don't interact, you don't talk to them. And then he's like, I don't talk to people with your bunch, but otherwise I talk. And we still did not believe him. So we told him that, Amrit, no one will come on your birthday if you don't change your behavior. So just on that day, few days later, when his birthday was there, he brought 40 of his friends without telling us. And we had to arrange food and everything. And we still think he's an introvert, but I think we have to give weightage to his argument too. So this is the fun part in life, guys. This social life, is fun. We enjoy it. It is definitely much better than the life we had in US actually. Now, before we go to the next slide, I want to ask you all one thing, guys, and that is time for an honest confession. Are you guys ready for it? All right. So I saw a few thumbs up. Perfect. So guys, can we just go to the next slide, please, Hemant? My question to you all is, and you have to be honest, that how many of you did this thing yesterday night? All right, perfect. Only 3. I mean, that's amazing. Doing right now. Brilliant. Okay, so the good thing is you guys are honest, which is the best thing, right? I was doing the same thing, right? Pretty much, a few times in a week. It was a normal scenario. I want to tell you guys, you guys are the honest bunch for sure. I want to tell you guys, I haven't done this thing in the last 7 years. And this is one of the great things we like about India, right? You can have a maid coming in the morning. You can have a cook coming in the afternoon. You can have maid coming in the evening. Not only that, if any time your maid is taking off, you can call the security and security will send a substitute. And that amenity, I just never thought, like, when I was living in India in my childhood, those facilities were just never there. But right now, when you are living in a good setup, in a good apartment community, you are having a 5-star resort-like lifestyle, actually. All right. Thank you so much. You guys are like really, honest guys. We can go to the next slide, Hemant. So that's all right. So guys, third thing I want to talk to you about the good part of being in India. That is the apartment amenities. And this is the picture of the place where I live. And without stepping in your car, in one day, you can play table tennis, you can play badminton, you can play tennis, you can go to the swimming pool, you can go to the steam room and a sauna, and you can do meditation, you can take a dancing class, and you don't have to step in your car. So this, again, I did not see it before I come to India. I had no idea that this is how the life in decent apartments are in India are. And we just love it. We enjoy it. So these are the good parts of India. Now, and this is a Shobha Daffodil in Bangalore. That's where I live right now. We can go to the next slide, Hemant. Now coming, you have already answered. So this is the bad character. I believe I have done it right. This is the bad character, Angel Eyes, from that movie, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. So I want to ask you guys, what do you think of the bad things of living in India? Any guesses?
High quality.
Okay. I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said traffic and air quality.
Okay,
it's about not quality of life. It is about standard of life. Quality of life is missing.
No, I meant quality of air quality.
Right. So let's talk about. So traffic is one thing, I guess. We all kind of agree. Traffic is a big problem, no doubt. Absolutely, it is a big problem. In Bangalore, it is worse, but somehow it does not affect me, guys. And the reason is, I do not step out. Whatever the work I do, and and we'll talk about that. I do it from the confines of my home. So it is a big problem. Absolutely true. It does not affect me. All right. So social school pressure, commute time, pollution. I think these are good reasons, guys, and absolutely no arguments there. Some of them are genuine reasons. Some of them perhaps are more hyped up and more stereotype, I guess. Traffic is one big cause for sure. And we can see the next thing now. This is again, I believe, and we can have a debate. There are different arguments about this, I guess. Office politics, the work culture, it is a little bit more different than how it is in US. And that is one of the reasons, I guess, I always thought that when I go back to India, I don't want to work there anymore, actually, after working in US for like 18 years. It is there, but I think many people have told me it is improving, and it is a little bit better than what I thought it was. Rat race among kids, all right. Now, the third thing is, guys, this I believe is more of a stereotype. This is not the real. Before coming here, I thought that you cannot have your own privacy, invasion of privacy and intrusion and all those things are there. After living here for 7 years, I do not agree with that. I think that is it's a myth and it's a false notion. You can be as private as you want to be, and you can be as social, as you want to be. There is just no problem at all. There are no issues with that. All right, so we have talked about the good and the bad. And now comes the ugly part. I just want you guys, what do you guys think about what is the ugliest thing, the deal breaker, big no-no of living in India? And guys, I will answer all of these questions about investment. Do not worry about that. I will be here for as long as you all want. Tax issues, okay, that's a big. Infra issue, perfect. Anything else?
Probably kids settling down there is probably not easy.
Okay, and those are good questions, I guess. I did not find it a big problem. And one of the reasons is the place where I'm living, perhaps there are 20 families, 30 families who are returned, who are US citizens and they are living here. So mixing up for my kids was just very easy, actually. But the thing is, for me, there is nothing ugly in India. There is nothing which is like a deal breaker, which is like a big no-no. I just did not find any reason which we could not deal with. There are too many good things. There are a few bad things, perhaps, but there was not anything which is completely bad. Okay, so that we left it as a blank. All right. Now we can go to the next page. Having talked about all those things, the question is, guys, what besides having the fun life, what else do I do here actually? And what keeps me busy, right? That is the most important question. So what keeps me busy is I invest. I invest all of my money in US stocks, and I invest all of my family money in Indian stocks, right? I'm managing my personal stocks and my family stocks. I've been investing in US for like last 17, 18 years. And I've been investing in India for the last 7 years. After investing for such a long time, we realized something very special. And what we realized that in a very reasonable scenario, I'm not exaggerating that, but in a very reasonable scenario, our wealth is going to grow 10 times in 10 years. Now, if we just extrapolate that, that means that in 20 years, our wealth is going to grow 100 times. In a very reasonable scenario, it could be 80 times, it could be 110 times, it could be 70 times, maybe a few years here and there. But in general, that is the trend, basically, what we are seeing. Now, that is while exhilarating, it is also very frightening. Exhilarating in the sense that you will end up having enormous amount of wealth, which you just never thought, which are just beyond your any imaginary thoughts. It is scary in the sense that it makes it of very utmost paramount importance that we got to teach this thing to our family and to our kids. Because if we don't, then imagine some 20-year-old kid, and all of a sudden, he's given 100 times wealth than we all currently have. And he just does not know a bit about how to manage investments. And that is a tragic scenario, guys. So having said that, so I want to come back. In my investment journey in India, because people ask, what do I do? And I invest, and they want to, find out what I invest and how I invest. I started making a lot of friends, right? Many individual friends, many friends in the small groups. And I was always sharing them, what I'm doing and how I'm doing, what I'm buying, why I'm buying, what I'm selling and what I'm selling. I was always sharing with, many individuals in many small groups, right? But the problem was that is a cumbersome process, right? So I always wanted to simplify that. So a few months ago, in my apartment community, that is where, I hang out and go for a walk, every evening with few friends. And we talk about stocks and investments opportunities all the time. So I thought of creating a group for them at least, so that we have a common place where we can share what I'm doing, and and we can exchange ideas, right? And then just somehow I happened to, I thought of inviting other friends from the apartment also. And I floated that WhatsApp group to other people in the community, that anyone else, any other investor who wants to join. Little did I know that in few days, that group exploded, and we had like 100 members. Within few weeks, we had around 175 members in that group. And all of them from my community, many of them are pretty experienced investors. Many of them are investing like a big numbers actually. And some of them are professionals actually. So I started, talking to them, sharing what I'm doing, answering a lot of questions, back and forth, pretty much focus on fundamental value investing in an Indian stock market. So during that process, there was a question, always started coming that it is great that you have made good returns and your picks are great, but how does it help me? How can I create my own portfolio, right? So I thought, okay, whatever I'm buying now for you guys in this group, at least along in front of you, I will create a portfolio of those picks, and we will try to manage that portfolio for 1 year, and we will see how it does. And it will have a higher beta, high volatility, but it will definitely have some alpha. And we will do mistakes, and we will learn from them. We'll have a reason for those mistakes. So I started building a portfolio along with everybody else in my community. Now, while I was answering a lot of questions, I thought of something else. I thought, I have a lot of people in my alumni group also. Why not create an investment group in my alumni friends also? So I opened an alumni group over there. And then lo and behold, in just a few weeks, we have around 400, 375, 380, 400 members in that. Now that is a young bunch. They all have disposable income, but they are also very new to this mystic world of investments. So now I'm answering a lot of questions from these two big groups, and I have around 20 other smaller groups, basically pretty much 1,000 pairs of eyes, and I'm sharing my ideas with them. I'm teaching them, taking their feedback back and forth. But you can imagine, guys, this solution is not scalable, right? So I had to find a better way, right? I cannot keep on giving them a fish, but I would rather teach them also how to fish. So with that thought in mind, I thought of creating a class for them, for people in my apartment community. And I thought of creating a class about fundamental value investing, where looking at the balance sheet and looking at the financial statements, how we can glean like which are good stocks to buy and which we shouldn't put our hands to, right? So this is what this picture is kind of trying to show, that about that fundamental value investing class. A lot of people attended that. The class was meant for 2 hours. It lasted 3 hours. And everyone loved it. Everyone wants a follow-up class of this. But something else I realized in that class. And what I realized, that people, they can learn the fundamental aspects of the value of the investing easily. But what they really need is having a right mindset. And that is when I thought that before I teach them about fundamental investing, I must teach them how to have a right mindset, right investor mindset. So I did that. I created a class, and I have taken 2 different sessions of this class, both with 50 plus audiences. People just love this thing. And what we do, I kind of try to show them their blind spots, the things which you intuitively think is right, but they are not. And that is what kind of hurt you in your portfolio returns. All right. So with that, hopefully, I will at some point of time, hopefully I will teach, I will be able to teach them how to fish for themselves instead of me answering them, all the time. All right. Now, having talked about that, the thing is for you guys, and some of you guys may be wondering that I have talked about getting 10 times returns in 10 years, right? How is that possible? How is that possible in India? In India, we do not get, there is no disruption happening. There is no innovation happening. How is it possible that India can, investing in India can give you 10 times returns in 10 years, right? So I want to show you some examples, and hopefully I can convince you, hopefully I'm able to convince you that why we all should be thinking about investing in India. This is a chart you can see there, which shows kind of Nifty outperforms, the Indian Sensex outperforms, many other Sensex in the world and of the developed world. And this is the trend, whichever picture you see, you will find the same graph. Nifty is a little bit outperforming other indexes. But I want to show you with even easy ideas. If we can go to on the next slide, Hemant, please. And guys, what do you guys think this is? Any guesses? I'm just asking a question so that I can take a water break, guys. Any guesses what this is? Okay, oh, I see a lot of, okay, teak wood, bamboo, I guess, okay. All right, yeah, you guys are right. This is a eucalyptus plantation, actually. Anyone knows what this eucalyptus plantation used for? Oil, yeah, that is correct, actually. What else? What else it is used for? Timber and oil, construction. Yeah, you guys know right track, actually. One main thing it is used for, that is to create the paper pulp. Now, if I talk about investing in paper industry, it looks like a dying industry. It looks like, it is not exciting. So many friends I have talked to, they always wonder before they hear to my arguments that it is like a boring industry. There is not much growth happening over there. And that is true. The fact is, we do not need like a lot of disruption and innovation over here. But the most important fact is that the paper consumption, per capita paper consumption in India is around 10 kg. Whereas per capita, thank you, Hemant, for the reminder. Per capita consumption of paper in the whole world is around 55 kg. So no matter what we do and what we believe in, this industry is just going to grow. We are going to catch up to the developed world in per capita consumption of paper. All right, and we can go to the next slide, Hemant. And the same thing is with the steel industry. The per capita consumption of steel in India is around 70 kg. Whereas the per capita consumption of steel in the whole world, in the developed world, is around 250 kg, 250 plus kg. So we just need to, and maybe the next slide also, let's cover that. Here, what do you see? This is the brokerage industry, guys. Mutual fund and brokerage accounts, the demat account, what we call in India. The demat account in India are like 8%. In US, it is 50+%. Active demat accounts are 3%. And in US, it is 50%, right? So no matter what we believe, no matter what we think, and no matter which government is going to be in power, this industry is just going to keep on growing for decades to come. We just have to invest in the top 2, top 3 companies from these industries and wait. And that will just give us a great, humongous enormous in next decade or two. All right. We can go to the next slide, I guess, guys. Now, I talked earlier about the portfolio which I started building for my friends, for my community friends. This is what I share with everyone who I am in touch with, basically. And this is the portfolio I started on April 24th. You can see the theme, basically. It is a very short term, and short term returns just don't mean anything. But you can see that the trend is that this portfolio will have higher volatility up and down, but it will give you a decent alpha than the market averages, right? And I have few companies from the paper industry over here. I have few companies from the brokerage industry over here. And just by investing on that theme-based concepts, we all can make great returns, right? So now the question is, the biggest question for you guys is that how can you all participate in this explosive growth, right? How can you, make the best use of this? The best case scenario is that that opportunity was available to me 10 years ago. If that was there, I would have saved 2 or 3 years. I would have retired 3 years earlier, perhaps. It wasn't the case. Second best case scenario, guys, is that this opportunity to invest in India is available for you guys. And Hemant and the INRI team over here, they can help you invest in Indian market. If you are interested in doing everything on your own, you can always pick stocks and invest. But majority of you, I know, from my family and friends, majority of you are like passive investors, and they can go by the mutual fund route. They can just invest in mutual fund, and Hemant's team kind of provides that platform. And perhaps Hemant, you can talk more about that. Thank you so much for listening to me so patiently. I will make sure I'll answer all the questions.
Yeah, before we move there, Nishad could take over just talking about India first.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Anil, for the enlightening presentation. Basically, as Anil mentioned in the last sort of points, there are structural macro trends because of which investing in India makes a lot of sense. However, generally for NRIs and people living abroad, even if it's OCIs, etc., the entire investing sort of process has not been easier. So there are multiple problems that have been there till now. Number one, onboarding mostly has been physical. Like someone will basically ask you to courier documents or in some cases even be present in India to actually open some accounts. The second point is if you have lived outside for a few years, you generally are not connected to the Indian financial ecosystem as much, which means that you need more curation and more handholding to actually invest well. And do not have as much time to do your own research as well about in depth about these things. And third big thing that comes into picture is taxation. So because you are still a resident of a different country and are investing in India, where you're not a resident, there are cross-border tax rules that apply. Of course, you do not have to pay double taxes because India has double tax avoidance treaties with most of the countries, 85 plus countries. But you still have to sort of declare some of these taxes, and there is some paperwork required for that. Because of why this process has been really hard till now. So what INRI solves for is actually convenience across this process. So we make it fast, we make it completely online, and we help you in all the taxation implications of investing cross-border. So if you go to the next slide, Hemant. So just a quick sort of rundown on INRI. So you can get started completely online with a less than 5-minute KYC process. Today, if you even go to big sort of names that you might heard of Zerodha, etc., they will ask for the first line in Zerodha's sort of NRI segment says that documents have to be physically couriered to their Bangalore office. So this is something that you can easily start, and it's just like Wealthfront basically for your India investments. The second thing is a lot of people outside do not have bank accounts like NRE, NRO bank accounts to invest. We have tied up with ICICI Bank and are in talks with other banks as well to sort of make this process completely online. So within the platform itself, you can request a bank account opening, and we facilitate a completely paperless process for you. As I mentioned earlier, curation becomes a big part because you are not as aware about the Indian financial ecosystem. So we give a lot of curated mutual fund portfolios, etc. as well. And you can also input your risk appetite, just like Wealthfront, and your duration of investment, etc. And we also generate a portfolio for you that you can just subscribe to. Additionally, we have launched NRI GPT. You can just go to nrigpt.ai and you can get a lot of your India tax and finance questions answered. We are improving the product daily, so you will have a lot of other queries also answered soon. Some of the other things that are coming soon are multi-asset sort of investments. We don't plan to be just a mutual fund specific platform. A lot of people want to invest in different things, whether it's real estate, startups, etc. in India. So that's something that we are also working on, and it will be live soon on the platform. And a lot of us also invest through our parents. And while there are a bit of complications there, especially in sort of bringing money back, if that's the route you prefer, we also are opening a feature for investing via your parents' account through the platform itself. Hemant will give a quick sort of product demo, and then we'll have a special announcement at the end before we cover all the questions. Yeah.
Great. Thank you both. So we have a quick product demo done. It's also hosted on YouTube on our channel. So I'll just play that for everyone. Investment platform for Indian expats to invest in India. With an exclusive focus on the non-resident Indian community, India is simplifying investments, cross-border taxation, and compliance for our customers. Get started for free by signing up with a Google account or email password. Find out in 10 seconds if your PAN is ready to invest. If your PAN is not updated as an NRI, no need to physically send documents to India. We offer a completely digital process to update it. Once your PAN is KYC approved, begin with investor onboarding by creating a profile, adding nominees, and your NRE and NRO bank account. In case you don't have one, we can help you get with that. Simply click on apply here and request a call with our partner banks. Invest in India with a variety of mutual fund options. Explore our curated baskets designed with investing benefits in mind, such as low-cost index funds, tax-saving funds, alternatives to bank FDs, and more. Click on View More to see more funds in a category. To invest, simply click on the plus icon and add to the cart. If you're not sure which funds to invest in, use our smart investing tool that offers personalized recommendation basis your risk preferences. Put in your date of birth, risk comfort, time horizon, and the assets you are interested in. Click on Customize Portfolio and get a curated one just for you. You can update the percentage amount in investment if you wish. Click on Invest Now. Review your orders and make the payment through net banking. Once invested, view your holdings in the Portfolio tab. Wasn't that easy to invest? Don't miss out on the India's growth story. Sign up and invest with Indy today. Thank you.
Hey, I have a question about the platform. Is now a good time to ask, or should we wait till the end?
Yeah, let's use the Slido. We'll just do the summary first and then the Q&A.
Okay, sounds good.
Anil, to just finish over with the summary.
Sure. So guys, this is perhaps the takeaways which you can start implementing right away in your journey, whether you decide to R2I or not. This is the best thing to do to kind of increase your wealth. For R2I, if you're planning to come to return to India, optionality helps. That means if your citizenship status is sorted, that's a great thing. In our case, it was. So we always knew that if things don't work out, we can always go back, right? Second thing is that you all got to start maximizing your retirement account. I started doing it from day one. Maximize your 401k. If you're eligible for Roth IRA, maximize that. If anyone is eligible for traditional IRA, you should be maximizing that also. Third thing is, always keep an eye that whether your 401k is heavily concentrated in any stocks, especially of your company stocks. So if that is the case, you got to start thinking about, you can find out how the process is in your company, and you can move a portion of your 401k to your rollover IRA account. And once you do that, you can invest anywhere in the whole world. So that is one of the biggest thing which I learned in 2004, 5, 6 time frame that made me make my rollover account grew much, much faster and much bigger actually. And then I talked about the mindset class, that is this is a one simple thing, simple tweak in your life thing, in your priorities. And that is you earn, you spend, and we invest. That is what we normally do. And if you simply change that to earn, invest, and then spend, once you start doing it, all of a sudden, you will be saving more and you'll be investing much more actually. So these are the few takeaways which you can follow them and find out whether it's happening and try to incorporate in your life and see if that helps you or not. With that said, I guess, Hemant, we can, go for Q&A.
Yeah. So we have a Slido link. I'm just gonna use that for Q&A. So we'll just go over the top ranked questions to begin with. We are already at 8 minutes before the timeline, but we'll continue the Q&A. So people are interested, they can definitely stay on. So first question, what would it mean from a taxation standpoint, moving back to India after becoming US citizen, maybe next 5 years, versus an Indian citizen with US investments?
So guys, this is a tough question, and I guess I'm not the right person to answer about the tax issues. In my case, I just want to reduce taxes, right? I do not want to take money out from a 401k. Everything is invested in US. I withdraw for my needs. Whatever I'm spending here, that is what I try to withdraw from my taxable accounts. But taxes, I just leave it to the tax experts. And perhaps you can send a question to Hemant and his team, Nishad, and they can arrange that seminar or something, I guess. Hemant.
Great, thank you. Next question, a very elusive one. When do you know you have enough? Is there a magic number? How to find one?
Well, I guess that's a good question. The standard criteria is that 4% rule. Once you have 25 times of your annual expenses are invested, that means you can generate 4% return very easily, save withdrawal, and that's a good number, right? In my case, I'm a little bit risk averse, even though I may not look like that. But I wanted to, even go farther, right? But after living here for such a long time and seeing how things are working, you can even, if you are willing to work, if things go bad, in certain scenarios, then you can stress that number to even 6% rule or 7% rule. And I believe that in 70-80% of the cases, you will just be fine, because the market returns in general in India, you will get 12 to 15% very, very easily.
Okay, next question, would social security benefits be available to US citizens after retirement who move back to India?
So that is true. Yes, social security benefits will be available to you anywhere in the world. That is no problem at all.
Okay. What are the top insurance providers, health, life, or who to avoid?
So again, guys, I don't think I'm the right person. I guess I have one Religare, but you got to look who are the best ones right now.
Okay. Is it possible to manage intergenerational investments via trust system in India? Can my parents in India give land to a trust via will with me as beneficiary?
So again, guys, I am not sure about that, and I do not know how that works actually.
Sorry to interrupt. I am NRI consultant only, and we do only taxation, will drafting, estate planning, and everything. So I've put down my email also in the chat. Guys, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to answer any of your queries that relates to any taxation, for double taxation as well, real estate planning, anything you guys want.
Just one thing, I think this trust transfer was covered in our last webinar on India tax for NRIs, OCIs as well. We'll post the YouTube link for the same, and we can basically, if you need more expert advice, happy to connect you to the right consultants for that.
Yeah, and we have a network of CPAs in the US as well as CAs in India, so you can reach out to us on that as well. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. How to define a fire number? I think we've done that. Is it possible to buy agri land in Indian private agri land in Indian private limited company instead of personal name for foreign citizens?
So guys, this is one tip which I kind of learned. I do not believe in hard assets. So I have never explored that. I believe liquid assets are the best if you want to keep an option open to return to India or to move anywhere else in the world.
Okay. What is the recommended way to move all money, including 401k, to India?
So the thing is that if you
an investment platform for Indian expats to invest in India. Okay, sorry.
What I will say is that I did not think about moving my 401k, because that is where, and 401k in my case, it became my rollover IRA account. I do not want to move that money out, because the moment I move it out, I have to pay taxes. So I do not want to move it out till I absolutely have to, right? There is no reason. I mean, you can move out a little bit if you need to. Otherwise, just let it grow, let it be there and grow tax-free completely.
Okay. We'll send a recording post the session. So Yeah, that should be available. In US, about 250K for each account is insured. Deposits are not completely lost. In India, this amount is 5 lakhs. What are options to hold cash in Indian banks? Not sure I understand completely. Anil,
I think
Yeah,
this
I
is
mean,
related to
these
FDIC.
guys.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Nishad, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think this is related to FDIC basically. India unfortunately has like a lower sort of limit. You cannot sort of change it. Generally, bank failures in India have been much lesser in US than in US. In the last 20 years, 564 banks have failed in US, whereas only 5 banks have failed in India. So Indian banking is also more stricter. RBI is much stricter than SEC, by the way. So in that way, the money is safe, but yes, you will not get like a higher amount of insurance if that's the specific ask.
yeah. Okay, where do you see India in next 10 years?
So I believe that I put up a decent argument that I believe India in India it is very easy to grow your money 10 times in 10 years, and it's not about the 3 industry I talked about. It is pretty much with everything else, with Gillette, with Hindustan Unilever, with Nestle, with Britannia. See the 1 crore people who are dying this year in India, right? And the new 1 crore people who are coming, they all, for example, 1 crore people who are dying, they may not be using Colgate toothpaste. But the new 1 crore people, who are taking birth and who are coming to that, age where they have to use a toothbrush, they all are going to use toothpaste. And most of them are going to use Colgate. So this growth story for next 2 decades is going to be there for pretty much in every field, in every aspect. And not being a part of that is, a big risk, guys.
Okay. I am qualified for social security benefits. How should I plan and leverage my move?
Guys, I'm not sure. I haven't looked into that, to be honest.
Okay. I guess means like you are already a citizen and then if you can move or not, I guess that's the point.
Yeah. You will get social security wherever you go. So.
Yeah. Cool. Should I invest in Roth or traditional 401k?
So guys, if you are eligible for traditional 401k, you invest in that because it is tax free. If you are not, you must be investing in Roth for sure. If you are eligible for both, do invest in both.
Okay. On a visa, should I invest in Roth IRA? How can I access my funds if I need to return to India? I think similar, but anything new here, Anil?
No, that is. I mean, that is correct. I mean, you can invest in Roth IRA. I do not see any problem. That account will be yours.
Yeah. What are low risk investment options in India? Are fixed deposits safe? What are other low risk options?
I mean, these are systematic things. There is systematic risk with everything, but system pretty much, it's a safe thing. I do not think we should be worrying about, these FDs and banks failures. I mean, those are beyond our controls, and we need to have a trust in the system. Actually,
Yeah.
Bigger risk is not investing in the explosive growth which is happening right in front of us.
Okay, that's a fair point. Thank you. This is very much US NRI focused. Do you have a similar orientation for dual UK Australian NRIs? So one thing, yes, I mean, there are a lot of US participants here, but we will be doing a more global talk as well. But I think Anil can also share some of his thoughts from, other nationalities as well. Anil, any friends, any insights there? People living outside or not in US basically?
I do not know much about UK and Australian NRIs, but to be honest, yes.
Yeah, but one thing I want to say here is India is an opportunity available for everyone. So wherever you are in the world, whether in UK, Australia, or US, India is available to all of you. Like you could invest in India from anywhere in the world, and we also offer that. I mean, we are not just a US centric platform, but our audience seems to be more around the US. But India is like you belong to India, and India is available for everyone. So. Next question, would you recommend hiring tax advisor, financial advisor? How did you navigate taxes?
Definitely, you know, so I not only hired the tax advisor, I hired the best tax advisor. A financial advisor, yes, I do have a financial advisor because first of all, you know, he's the one, you know, who taught about the you know, Roth IRA, you know, capital gains in the 401k and, you know, those things. So having a tax, the financial advisor in the beginning, it kind of gives you a reality check where you are, and he can help you answer a lot of questions which are gray areas actually, right? And having a tax advisor, definitely. I do not want to, you know, I already have a lot of worries in my plate about investing in US and investing in India. I do not want to learn about taxes.
This was my question. Can I ask a follow-up, please?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. How did you find the tax advisor, and how, like you mentioned that you found the best tax advisor, like how did you go about finding that person? Or if
So,
you have any personal recommendations?
Yes, I can, you know, those people over here, they are called, I have to think about the name. They manage taxes in US and in India. How do I found them through my financial advisor, you know,
Got
with
it.
whom I went. So if you need, I can pass that on to Hemant, and, you know, he can pass it on to you guys.
Yeah, that'll be very helpful.
And they charge 5 times more. Like average tax charges in India is around 5 to 10,000, I guess. They charge around $350 to $400. But I want to pay them because I don't want to deal with tax issues at all. You know, I want them to take care of all the taxes. I want to focus only on the investment part.
So when did you get it? Like, did you get it before you moved to India, or what is the right time to get a tax advisor? Because usually when you're doing taxes here, it's like super simple, right? You could use probably TurboTax or whatever.
So TurboTax, we can do it for US, but in US, I file my own tax returns because my tax returns in US are kind of complicated. In India, for India only, I use them to file my taxes.
So even after you return to India, you file your taxes in US by yourself?
Yes, that is correct. I do not use them for US taxes. And that is just because I am familiar. TurboTax is very easy. And I just know, you know, everything over there. And my taxes are a little bit complicated, you know, from in US actually. But for India, I have an advisor, you know, who does that.
Understood. Got it. That was very helpful. Thank you so much.
Next question. So we are already at time, but we'll continue to take in more questions. Not necessarily we'll go through all of them, but yeah, for sure. So please stay on if you are interested. For the 4% rule for our living expenses, what is the recommended frequency to take out cash from portfolio? Does it involve liquidating investments?
So guys, the best trick which works is you got to have, you know, 3 years of living expenses with you, right? Make sure you have a 3 years of living expenses, and then you let your investments. And then, you know, once you finish your 2 years, at that time, you can think of, you know, replenishing this 3-year fund from your investments. That way, you will never have to sell your investments, you know, on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis, actually. Within that 3-year time, you will definitely get an up cycle where market is up, and you know, you can sell some positions, actually.
Okay. Do you know if H-1B holders who move back from US to India after more than 10 years that are eligible for social security benefits?
I do not know personally anyone, but I believe that is true, that if you have worked 40 credits, then you are eligible for social security benefits.
Okay. Your average return in India portfolio is 19%. Just for an example, INR depreciated from 60 to 82 in last 8 years. So annually 4%. So 15% effective. Any thoughts on that?
So first of all, that portfolio, the return, what you know, Sanchit is quoting, that is in the last 4 months, right? I started that portfolio on like a 24th of April or something. That is in the last 4 months. It is true that rupees, you know, is depreciating, but you know, once you have money here and you are investing, you know, then that is the return you are getting actually. Inflation is higher, but returns are still much higher than that. Again, you know, that is the return the last 4 months, not for the whole year.
Yeah, can I ask a follow-up on this?
Please do.
First of all, thank you so much. I think your talk was quite encouraging to invest in India. So like for this 19%, I've not even adjusted for inflation, but my question is not the other way around. My question is like, how do you how do you manage this risk? How do you hedge this? Because I'm also very much interested in investing in India and all, but like if I just compare data in the last 30 years or in last 10 years or in 20 years, I see that if adjusted for inflation, if adjusted for currency depreciation, the returns are quite similar in US and in India. Maybe the growth story changes some things in the near future or in the long future. But how do you currently manage this risk?
So I guess, even if you see like, investing in US, right? Average returns are like a 10, 11, 12%, 8, 9, 10% actually, right? But if you, happen to invest in the best companies or in the best mutual funds, your returns will be much higher, right? And that is what I kind of, was teaching in my mindset class, how to avoid those blind spots. And if you invest in the fundamentally good companies which are growing faster with higher margins and having no debts, that is how you hedge your risk. Your portfolio is hedged in the process of selecting the companies.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. What not to buy is also a strategy, and not just what to buy.
Absolutely. You should never buy a crowded place. We like tomorrow, Geo is coming. You should just never go there. A crowded place has a heavy price tag. And that is what I kind of teach in the mindset class, basically. For example, a market cap is the better indicator than looking at the PE ratio. And all the companies which you see in my portfolio, they have a smaller market cap. They all have the possibility of growing 10,000, and they will still barely becoming a large cap actually.
Yeah, true. Okay, next question. If we maximize our 401k, there is a 10% penalty for withdrawing early. Would it be better to maximize Roth contributions instead?
See, if that is correct, there is a 10% penalty. Then don't, if you don't have to, then don't withdraw it. That's one thing. If you have an option, then contribute as much as in 401k to get the maximum contribution from a company, right? Then maximize your Roth IRA. And after that, if you still have something left over, then go ahead and maximize your 401k.
Makes sense. Can you talk briefly about India specific ETF like iShares? Is the same as direct investing in Indian stocks?
Probably it is. I do not know. I do not invest in ETF myself much. So I'm not sure about this actually.
Yeah. So one comment here from our side. So there are India specific ETFs available on US exchanges. However, there is a slippage there where in terms of they try to hedge your risk with respect to currency. And because they do a lot of transactions related to that, you can over time, especially over 10 or 20 years, lose 1% around every year. So if you compare to your actual investment or direct investment in India, you would be much better off. And I think could be around 20 to 30% could be the delta. So there is a lot of value investing directly in India compared to investing in a proxy, which is available, let's say, on a foreign exchange.
Yeah, just to give some numbers, like 5-year returns for these funds are hovering around 15% total. Whereas if you had invested directly, even after adjusting for dollar depreciation, etc., you would have gotten 45% plus returns in an index fund, like just an index to index comparison.
Okay, so you said easily you can 10x your money in 10 years. That is an IRR of 25%. Is it really too easy to do this with acceptable risk?
I think it is well, I shouldn't trivialize it. It is not very easy, but if you are investing it properly, not following what the conventional wisdom is, in a country like India, it is definitely doable. Yes, it is. And that is what I'm trying to show it, with my portfolio also to all of my friends and the people who are connected with me, how we can do that. I do not think it is a big, it's a too big of a task, basically.
Yeah. I think, I mean, higher returns are definitely achievable with higher risk, but there is an option to do it even on the higher side with respect to India, because India in general is growing, and that's where I think the bigger opportunity lies overall. Okay, I think we've done these questions.
Hi, this is Rajesh. I have a follow-up question for one of my previous questions, where we were talking about the early withdrawal from the 401k. So for the FIRE rule that you mentioned, that you need to have 25 times your living expenses, right? So does that include your 401k, Roth IRA, all of that included? Is that how it is? Or is it like the money that you get after, or the money that you're potentially taking to India after all of the 401k and Roth IRA contributions?
No, that includes everything. All your 401k, all your investable corpus, basically.
But if another follow-up question is, if that is the case and you recommend that we keep the money in the 401k, so that technically doesn't contribute towards the ability to withdraw it for our living expenses, right?
So see, the thing is that, if you have to start withdrawing from your 401k on day one, then you will have to pay 10% extra penalty.
Right.
Till you reach that age.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if we kind of keep the minimum match that we need, so then that is something that we can keep in the US, and then have the the Roth contribution as well. You can take it out after 5 years of contribution. So I believe that is something we can take out as well. So that's why I was like leaning towards that option than the 401k maximization.
See, what will happen is that in 401k you are making you are adding money pre-taxes, right? So that extra 20% or 30% which you are adding, that money is going to grow many folds over the years. And not availing that, I believe that is a mistake, actually.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
So definitely do your Roth IRA if that is what you want to do first. But if you have excess saving, then instead of keeping it in FDs or somewhere else, after your emergency fund, you should be adding it towards your 401k, because that extra the tax which you save, that grows many folds actually.
I have a follow-up question. I think what he was trying to, and I have the same question, that if I keep, so let's take an example. If I have 50% of the 4% rule is in 401k and IRAs, is the remaining 50% enough to make enough living expenses that when I move to India?
See, do not think it like that. Even if you start depleting that remaining 50%, that is completely fine. No, that will last enough. When you will reach, the withdrawal time from your 401k.
I see. Thank you.
Sure.
I have a question. Can I ask?
Yeah,
please do.
How are options market in India? Are they developed somewhat in comparison to US?
No, sir, they are bad. But options is a growing market. I invest a lot of options in US, and I consider myself pretty sophisticated option investor. I have not done even one options in India. Now I have friends who are, influencers, and they are doing a lot of options. I do not believe that India is the right market to make money in options here. You can keep on doing that, selling, calls and selling puts and make 1% income, but that is not the best way of using options.
Well, okay. I happen to know everything about options market since since I know about them for the last 40 years. I'm 83 years old.
Beautiful.
Okay. Okay, I'm sure everybody has heard about Soros, right?
Yes.
Okay. I have made my money from options, okay, but not like Soros. Okay. These are just tools which can be used. If you have a gun, you can use it to defend yourself or attack somebody. Okay. So you have to have a different mindset. Anyway, my question is that options, where can I find out about volumes and so on? What is the best source of information?
So the best source of information here is NSE website. So they publish daily volumes of option trades in India. In terms of number of trades, actually options market in India is larger than US, like number of trades, like not the value of trades, but the number of trades. But the liquidity in specific stock options is less. However, the liquidity in Nifty options like index options like Nifty, Bank Nifty, Fin Nifty is actually good. The options market in terms of number of traders, etc., has grown over like 10 years in the last 3 years. 10 times in the last 3 years. And there's a report on SEBI which we can also share. SEBI has released, which we can also share on the options trading here. So the options market in India is now actually quite active.
Okay. Yeah, primarily there are two things. One is the what is the premium and what is the liquidity.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, those are the two key factors. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yes, happy to share that I have been trading options for 5 years in India, index options primarily. So if you want some thoughts to discuss, I'm happy to talk in person.
Okay, very good. Very good. Excellent.
And yes, sir, thank you so much for joining, and motivating us. It's great that, you joined.
Yeah, well, if you want, something was bothering, but I didn't want to interfere. You see, there was a question, I think, from Miss Bansal regarding financial advisors. Okay. I passed Series 7 exam in US in 1980. Okay. I was recruited by Morgan Stanley board to quantify risks in the marketplace. I'm the first one who did that. Okay. That is why I know ABCD about stock markets. Anyway, regarding financial advisors, one has to be extremely careful. Okay, you will find only in US 1 in 1,000 who are really qualified to be financial advisor, and they don't have conflict of interest. You see, conflict of interest is the biggest problem in US. Okay, because they are essentially, they make their money from commissions they get on your trades. Okay, so to be extremely careful on selecting one. I just wanted to caution younger people, younger generation, and same thing is about making money in stock market. You see, stock market is actually like a casino. The only difference is that if you go to a casino, your chances of making money is 1 in a billion. In stock market, it is 1 in a million. Okay, so you have to be analytical. For example, Anil, the speaker, he had a excellent experience and he learned it, but he did it because of his own energy, because of his own dedication. He became a professional. But everybody cannot do that. See, the people want to make easy money. That is the problem. Okay, you have to study, but you have to have that mindset and so on to be successful in this. Okay, so this is my spill. Okay, little bit of spill, but I didn't want to take over so much time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for the
Thank you so much for the advice.
Okay, next.
Hi, I'm from Korea. My name is Prashant. I want to ask you one thing, like when we do investment through NRE account, there are a lot of restrictions compared to a person who is living in India. So how can we solve this problem? Like, is it possible through your Enri app? For example, I cannot buy IPO, I think.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of stocks, there could be some restrictions, but mutual funds are definitely open for investments through NRE account. So yeah, I mean, there could be some restriction, but in general, it is pretty much available for NRIs.
Actually, Hemant, I just want to add something. 2-3 days ago, I called my ICICI direct customer service, and they were not letting me buy any mutual funds. And they mentioned like people living in US, especially, so it is not allowed. And I couldn't understand, and they didn't know the reason. So somehow.
Yeah, so there are some mutual fund houses which do not offer mutual funds to US, Canada residents. However, there are 6 mutual fund houses which do, and they do cover like a lot of like the portfolio that you would want to make generally. The reason ICICI Direct does not do this is because ICICI Prudential is not open to US. Generally, they try to upsell a lot of like ICICI Prudential products. So that's the reason. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
One question I have directly with Anil. Is it good to buy a mutual fund or is it good to buy directly a stock?
Well, see, buying in a stock, it requires much more understanding. So unless you are, you have a time and some basic understanding, you are better off just buying a mutual fund.
Thank you.
So, and I'll give you an
I just have
example.
one follow-up question.
Please.
For the previous one. So like if you have mutual fund investments in US, you have an account here, they'll send you an annual tax statement, which basically has, how much dividend, what is the growth, all the details, which is useful directly for taxation purposes. Do you, send such annual tax statements, which allows you to enter these data through for taxation purposes?
Are you suggesting for the Henry platform?
Yeah, generally that's been one of my biggest questions, because if you have an account here, even for Indian bank account, if you hold, you have to create your own interest statements and report all of them. What I've seen is that most of the services which allows you to invest in mutual funds in India, they don't create these tax statements, and creating the tax statements, annual tax statement is very complicated. That's been one of the biggest hindrance as far as I've noticed. So I was curious how that's tackled.
Yeah. So if you invest through us, we will provide a statement. It may not be necessarily a government, like the required statement, but it will give you enough details that you can use to file your taxes and give this to your tax consultant, where they can easily fill in the details.
So the calculation, the tax statement has two parts, like basically the calculations and like some of your previous declarations. This is in context of US, by the way. So we provide the calculations for whatever sort of investments you make through our platform. However, let's say if you have some other investments, then those will not be covered in the tax statements or the tax reporting documents that we provide.
Thank you. The other challenge I've noticed is that, if you invest in mutual funds here in US, right, you usually pay taxes on whatever dividends that you get, right? That you pay taxes for that. But what I've heard if you invest in direct taxes outside US, any companies, is you have to not only pay taxes on the dividends, but you also need to pay taxes on the notional gain, which even if you don't sell the stocks, but you have to keep calculating every year how much your net asset value increased, and you have to pay taxes, and you have to report them as part of your income statement, and that becomes part of your direct tax, just based on how much your investment increased in value.
Yeah, this is like the situation is actually more complex, but what you're referring to is PFIC, like passive foreign investment sort of rules compliances. And there are three different ways in which you can sort of get taxed through PFIC. One of them has the notional gain point that you are sort of mentioning. There is another way to sort of calculate taxes in which the notional gains, etc., will not be charged, but there are other charges. What we can do is we've conducted a tax webinar for US taxes for people investing in mutual funds outside, whether it's India or other funds. So we can send some documents and we have a YouTube video, etc., from that as well. So we can send it for your clarity. Otherwise, we have a network of CPAs who are expert in cross-border taxation. So we can help you connect if you are facing a situation specifically right now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay, so next question. So we are already quite ahead. It'll take maybe 5 more minutes, I think.
I want to ask a quick question to Anil, if it is okay.
Okay.
Anil, do you use any software similar like Motley Fool, not software like a subscription service still for US market, or you are doing your own analysis.
I use, like, I have multiple options. I believe I have a couple of other newsletters. I do not use them anymore, to be honest. I just do my own investments actually.
Okay. And are you, do you plan for like a short term, I mean, short term, like 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, or like a buy and hold kind of strategy, like buy now and sell after 5 years or 6 years? Like what is your best?
See, so when I buy a company, I buy it forever. My plan is always to buy it forever. I do not think of selling it in short term. That is just never, it never works, to be honest, and that is never my plan. I keep on holding to the company as long as fundamentals are improving, and as long as the business prospects are there. Once they starts going bad, that is when I think of start selling it.
Okay.
But otherwise, I always buy with a plan of keeping it forever, basically.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll just pick some questions here, but we'll probably don't go everything. I think, yeah, maybe this question, I think like people could be interested. How to transition kids' education to India? I think it's off topic, but I think related to a lot of people. Any thoughts, Anil, for families?
I'm sorry, Hemant, I got distracted. Can you say that again, please? Which
Yeah,
one?
how to transition kids' education to India?
How to transition kids' education to India. I believe, schools in Bangalore are great. There is not much difference, to be honest. I did not find it as a big problem, to be honest.
Got it. Okay. I think some of these questions we have covered already. So in the interest of time, if you have more questions, you can always reach out to us at contact@goinri.com. You can visit our website, and there is a chat option there as well. And we're always available. So this is our coordinates. If you really like what we did today and want to be updated, you can join our community for future updates. We have also provided the link in the chat for the WhatsApp community. And we are available at goinri.com. We're also backed by Y Combinator. And we are on this mission to, making this one-stop platform for NRI. So we're excited by that. More updates there. So please do visit and, join us.
Hi, just a
one
second
thing,
before we drop off.
Sorry, yeah, please ask your question. One
Yeah,
final
I had
one.
a question directly for Anil, actually. So, Anil, I believe you covered investments from the point of view of someone who's been in the US for quite some time and then moving back to India. But I just wanted to get your opinion from the point of view of an international student who's starting their career in the US and doesn't really know how long they will be here or they can be here. So, do you think that until these things, the H-1B issue is figured out, international students should start investing in 401k or US stocks directly for that matter? I'm not talking about stocks that the company gives as your package, but investing yourself or even solid things like 401k. Do you think international students should start doing that immediately?
I definitely believe that we should start, investing and saving taxes wherever you can from day one. Because let us say, even if let's say you come back to India, what will happen? You will have an option to let that 401k grow if you want, or if you want to withdraw, you can just withdraw it basically.
I see.
Cool. Right. But if you happen to stay there, that number will become big, very soon. It can grow to a big number.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone. This was amazing. We went short over the time. Really loved the energy of Anil as well as the audience. So thank you, everyone. We will have more webinars coming up.
Yeah, so just two things. One is, if you actually plan to invest in India soon, we have a lifetime free offer for our platform, valid only till August 31st. So if you invest before that, you will be able to sort of avail that. And the second thing is we plan to post some pictures from the webinar on our social media handles. So if everyone who is open to doing this, please like sort of switch on their cameras and just give a thumbs up or like whatever sort of works with you. And we'll like take a quick screenshot. Hemant?
Yeah. Okay. Nishit, are you taking or should I take?
Yeah, you can take. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not getting everyone, but a lot of the people are here. Let's see. How do you see a lot of people? I see only 10, I think. Nonetheless, let's take. Thank you.
Hey.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anil.
Thank you all. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.